Hi, I'm Brendan, and welcome to Personality Epistemology. Um, so, in this video, I'm just going to talk through a few things I just found and was looking at. One is this interview about cognitive empathy with Robert Wright. So, I found Robert Wright through his TED Talk in like 2011 or something about non-zero futures. And anyway, and then this concept of cognitive empathy, essentially it has to do with perspective taking using potentially more sophisticated ways of doing so than just feelings or just these like clunky diagnostic terms. But then this requires having a more sophisticated understanding of one's own self, of the psyche and so on. So, and then how people can differ. So, but it's just interesting watching this interview. It's like mindfulness and all this stuff. Like this guest is talking about basically getting upset and heated interactions around, I guess, his stepson. So this seems relevant because part of what I'm trying to do is figure out, does it always have to be like this? Like, people grow up with like even supposedly educated parents and aware parents, and completely not understanding what's going on and responding weird or not responding. And so the way this interview is going with both of them, from my standpoint, like they're missing some knowledge. And so this is kind of this chicken and egg thing of like all the people I can find who have key insights that many people aren't familiar with are themselves missing other insights, or they're rooted in this sort of enlightenment, so-called enlightenment, meaning like this 1800s derived set of philosophical views from academia that's filtered out into the culture, and it's like even efforts to counter some aspects of these philosophies just flip it over and then miss the point or miss where they're coming from. It's like postmodernism, or this whole thing of like thing being just so haywire versus like this rigid, like things are exactly this way, and a type of mentality. And it's like I don't know if that makes sense, but so I don't know, I could talk through this, but then so I also just was searching for fire themed songs for my playlist, and I found this just from a few days ago. And this World on Fire by Dolly Parton, and it's way more sort of preachy and like accurately alarmist than Sarah McLachlan's song World on Fire, which is from like 12 years ago, which is also one of my favorite songs, but it's really becoming like a big deal. And then so one thing in this song is she goes after politics and politicians in general, and it's like it's true. Politicians are not, they don't have the answers, or even this. I mean, so much has to do with the professions and education itself, and then some. It's like people just seem widely unaware of the problems with the modern education paradigm that's basically set up under this master-slave or master-servant paradigm from Hegel, of like people seeing each other not as fellow human beings but as subjects in like like as if to royalty. And but then people working in these systems who have all this power, like classroom teachers, or mental health workers. I mean, they have all this power relative to the people that are dealing with them. They're subject to their demands and judgments and so on. But then the people working in these systems are powerless. They're both all powerful from the, or can seem so from having to deal with them, or they're significantly like so, and yet they're also dealing with that from someone else. And then, okay, so what I've done is I've followed the chain of who has what power in the world. And I mean, even not knowing everything, I mean, it's like on some level what's going on. So, and then it's like in the world of economics and even crime and all this stuff. I don't know, the whole world is in an unusual state of liminality. That's for sure. And then, of course, the default is, in comes someone to do totalitarianism. But then, based on my analysis of what's going on, it just seems like unviable. But it's not like things are going back to where they used to be, or how they used to be. Things need to change, but it's like how? So, and I mean, what's the time frame and so on, or probable time frames for what to happen? And it's like I have Pink sung "What About Us" under the Earth representation in this layout, and this represents billions of people who are just like, I mean, it's like that song Pompeii by Bastille. It's like left to our own devices, left to my own devices, and people are not even informed what's going on. Like I mean, there's more and more information, and things that used to be like, that doesn't exist, or it's like like conspiracies. I mean, the whole world order basically, basically the world functions in a financial, economic, political sense, in large parts, was established post-World War II in meetings. And now all this stuff is coming out and everything. But when I was growing up, it was just kind of like, this is just the way things are. As if, rather than like a point in a longer story where it's going to change in our lifetimes. Of course, music indicated differently, so that's the larger way I came to understand things earlier on. And then as I've learned and figured out more, and as now more is it coming out, it's like it's like, what next? So and then many people are unhappy in these jobs and not getting helped by the professions or politics, or it's just a certain amount. And then the education paradigm, and then universities, there's this whole thing going on in universities. And then because according to a lot of people, it's been taken over by, and on a left-right spectrum thing, according to a lot of people on the right, the left has taken over universities. But then the whole paradigm has issues. But so it's like people are like, but then younger people growing up in this, it's just, like for me, it was, why school? Why is things like this? And this has got to be off the charts for many, many, many young people. Instead of just like, it works for me, I'm just going to get a job and do what I'm told. Like, this is just breaking down. So, and then seeing people who are doing that unhappy, it's like that's how I grew up. Seeing parents and step-parents and working in these systems. So, and then it's like, clearly there's something wrong with it. So, As for what to do, the thing is, part of my challenge is I'm not just doing like analysis of geopolitics and psychology and ideas and seeking to share them in a class-like format, or however I can share what I'm piecing together and seeing and my experience and so on. Like, I'm also dealing with life and death situations of people I know, which could be coordinated if I could coordinate teamwork, but then there's this breakdown of friendship even. So, and then this is related to this boundaries thing. So it's like, oh, there's a crisis of friendship, so let's put up more boundaries and block everyone out. That seems to be the way things are going. And there's no way to I mean, there are ways, but then it becomes difficult to know what to do. And so I'm also trying to sort this out with different people and helping people deal with this. Of people boundarying each other away, and then people are, it's like this song, Wanted by One Republic. And then it's like, oh, well, just get a job, but then that's unworkable for many people. And the psychological distress of all of this, and confusion and cognitive dissonance, I'm sure is very high for a lot of people. And so then there's a judgment thing of like, all these people are constantly dying by the hour, even in the U.S. for no reason. Then they can't coordinate help with figuring stuff out. And then people are figuring stuff out and sharing pieces of the answers, at least, that are often are relevant to other people. But then people can't get to those answers a lot of times, or don't know how to. And so because I've searched and pieced together different things, I know a lot that I think could be relevant to share. But then even the pieces that I know, it's like, oh, well, the people sharing them are missing other pieces. So I'm seeking, and these fit together like a puzzle, like for real, and can. So I'm interested to find collaborators. Like, I keep posting here, and I'm getting like a few views per video, literally. And it's like, so, I mean, do I email people who have audience? And then it's like, hi, I'm Brendan, and here's a bunch of text about what I'm doing and my situations and what I think. And I mean, it's just like I'm just another person. And so that's why I'm seeking to, like I said in 2012, and I'm like refocusing on this goal. Like, it's like build up some amount of audience based on figuring this stuff out. And so I will leave it at that. And comments welcome, questions, preferences, all of that.